Alright guys, so we got part 2 of this Ram 3500. We're doing the head. We got a bunch of parts in, and I got some bad news about it. Not only did the driver ruin this truck, but he got this head so hot that when I got it to the machine shop, they cleaned everything up. We didn't see this until they cleaned it, but every one of these valves are blue. At least at the bottom. Some of them are partially all the way up. So every valve spring in this head is ruined. You can't reuse them when they get that hot. There's no, you're gonna be kissing valves. And on top of that, the head is warped 20 thou. So for them to go through and clean the entire head surface up, they said they would have had to take off at least, up to 25 thou, and it would have been under spec. They would have had to be doing valve job and all that stuff. So customer opted to buy a new head. So we have a new head coming, should be here today. We also got an OEM Cummins head gasket from a reputable source. We got the intake gaskets from Felpro. We did get a fail-safe thermostat, and we got a brand new exhaust manifold. So what I'm gonna be doing now while we're waiting on this head, because the head's supposed to be here today, is I wanna get this exhaust manifold up and out of the way. It's so much easier with the head off. And on top of that, I would like to get this deck surface cleaned. So this thing's been sitting here about a week in this bay. I've just been working out of the other 2 bays for customer stuff and my own stuff. This is where we left off. So I'm gonna get in here and start cleaning off everything, and we'll go from there. So I just need to clean a lot of this deck surface off. So we're gonna be spraying out every one of the holes and then vacuuming everything out. So that's where we're at. Also, if you guys remember, there's supposed to be a bracket on here. Remember that thing popped out and blew coolant in my face? Yeah, there's supposed to be a bracket to that goes to one of these 2 exhaust manifolds, and it holds the bracket in and it comes down and it clips. Yeah, that's what happened. So that's not here. All right, so as much as I hate doing exhaust manifolds, you guys are gonna love to see this. So he's been sending these videos to the mechanic that worked on this prior, and that bolt was loose. That bolt was loose. All I had to do was put my thing on it and hit it. So I haven't touched this side yet. So let's see if that one's loose. See, I'm up against the manifold. Let me see if I can get my phone and hand in here. But I got those off, no problem. Trying to figure out where I can get this, Oh, is there no nut on that bottom one? There's not even a nut on that one. There's no nut. Okay, so those 2 were loose. There was no nut there. Let's try to get this last one over here. I think it goes that way. Oh yeah, that came right off. You see that? No effort? That's not a good sign. That tells me that whoever worked on this before decided to just be lazy. I'm not gonna put any names out there, but none of these bolts were tight. If you're gonna pay someone to do a job, I feel like it should be done correctly, but I don't know. What do I know? They shouldn't have been that easy to come off. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad they were easy to come off, but at the same time, for customer sake, they weren't supposed to be that easy, because that means this wouldn't have lasted very long before having a blowout. And then I probably would have gotten blamed for it. But I did recommend the manifold. The manifold needs replaced. I'm gonna put this one up against the other one, and I'll show you guys just how off and how shrunken this manifold is. I was right. He said he's been having turbo issues with this thing. Glad I recommended a manifold when I saw it was bad. Here's your turbo issues. Be careful who you guys let work on your stuff, because this is just unacceptable. This was just replaced. That's some fucking laziness right there. I'm sorry guys about the language, but let's see how long I can go without swearing. Hey guys. From what I understand, whoever worked on this before had a reputable shop. That's bullshit. You know what? Let's take the other side off too. For shits and giggles, this manifold's junk, by the way, so don't mind me just beating the shit out of it. This manifold's going in the scrap, but these block-off plates, I need these. These go on the new manifold. So, stud came out with that one. Wow, we had one gasket that wasn't leaking. See guys, I'm telling you, I'm not gonna sell you something you don't need. Like this guy was complaining he had turbo issues. See all the soot back in there. And I knew it needed a manifold. So I'm gonna line these up a little bit over on this side. Look how shrunk that manifold is. If I line, actually the two centers won't even, I can't even get the two centers to line up. Look at that. If I line this center up, this one, yeah, it's that badly shrunk. This thing was getting ready to, and look at the holes being how oblong they are. See how oblong these holes are getting on the end? They're not supposed to be like that. They're circles. So he was definitely getting ready to rip some studs out of the head. I am going to get these block-off plates thrown on here. Now that deletes are illegal again, I'm not the one deleting this truck, but now that deletes are illegal, or are legal again, I don't like this manifold. Jesus. This is one he brought me. They really do a shit job on these, huh? Alright, we got our delivery. We got a new head. Just dropped off, cylinder head assembly, 6.7 Cummins. So, it looks like we might actually get this thing done today. There he goes. RL Carriers, been dealing with them for a while. But, let's get this head opened up and see what a brand new head comes with. I'm gonna grab my little razor blade right here. I wanna clean that head up a little bit, or the block surface up a little bit more before I just start throwing parts at it, you know what I mean? All right, we got a nice brand new head. So I'm just waiting on my wife to pick me up. I got to pick up some things for the next job, but I do need to go get some Loctite. I need blue, red, potentially another thing of RTV. And I'd like to go get those scrapers so that I can start cleaning this head off. I did start vacuuming out the holes. We're going to take a straw, spray it down into the, yep, there's the straw there. We're gonna spray it down into the holes and brake clean it out, because I did it the method before where it's like you just spray compressed air in there and that shit goes everywhere. So we're not gonna do that. This is how we're gonna do it. Get that cleaned off and then we can throw the head gasket on and set the nice new head. All right, we started fitting up everything. I went and cleaned off every single one of these plugs. There was 2 extra plugs on this head. So if you guys see on here, this head, see how there's no opening or underneath? This head comes with 2 extra ports. One is this thread pitch and then one's the back thread pitch. So I had to put a dummy plug in the bottom there, and we did have one of these guys in stock for back here. The color of the sensor on the inside, so there's nothing in there, but I am gonna be vacuuming this thing out. There was a piece of like crud somewhere in there, so when we get this head on, I'm gonna vacuum it, clean everything up, get all this stuff. I don't know why. These rags lately have been just leaving residue, and I hate it. But I'm gonna get all, like I said, I'm gonna get all that cleaned up. This thing now is ready to go throw on. We got our OEM Cummins gasket. This is straight from a reputable source, like I was saying earlier. All right, so spent about an hour and a half cleaning everything. I am, throw that over there because I'm done with it. This is about where we're at. I got the head in. These are what we're going with. These are MAL head bolts. This is what the customer recommended. This is what he wanted. I do personally recommend the 625s on these trucks, especially the 13 pluses where they switch to an HE300 instead of an HE351. A lot of drive pressure. Lots of drive pressure. But yeah, so we'll get those in, then we'll do the injectors, then we'll do the valve lash, throw the whole truck back together. You can see we have plenty of clearance between it, so it didn't hit going in, but that's about where we're at. So I'm gonna take the long, lengthy process of torquing every one of these down in sequence. I believe it's 40, 80, and then we're gonna finish off with like 125-ish, somewhere around there. So remember, these are head bolts, not head studs, so we don't wanna stretch any of them. All right, so I remember I told you guys suspension was my least favorite thing ever. I lied. Torquing head bolts is my least favorite thing ever. So they're all torqued, 125 foot-pounds, and I came back to the middle, checked those two, they didn't move. So that's where we're at. I think this is about where we're at for the day. I was gonna show you, just in case you guys didn't believe me, I do clean the threads and whatnot. That was broken, and I fixed it a little bit, but yeah, so I will be back late tomorrow to finish this up. I'm gonna throw some rags over this so that way nothing gets into it while we're sitting. But I will not be able to finish this up until at least either tomorrow or early Friday, because I know I got another customer job. We're just gonna use the third bay over there. For that, we got a front main coming for a 98 Cummins. He's coming from New York. So we're gonna take care of that one, and then we will get back on this one, and then we should have both of these jobs knocked out this week. All right. I don't know if you guys will hear it in the distance. Oh, there we go. Second gen, done. It's not Josh, it's an automatic 95.5. We just did a front main seal and the front case gasket. So I'm going through, putting all the new bolts in the correct orientation. I can't stand when people do that shit. Like this. This is unacceptable. I have others. So what I'm doing is, make sure I put that one in the right spot. I did. Is I am putting them in the vise up here and taking my little wheel right here, and I clean every single one of these off. Now you'll see this thing does not take off. This does not take off material off the metal. It just cleans up everything. So if there's any shitty threads or whatnot like that, I got to get in there and grab this side. But I'm basically doing this to every single one of them. And there you go. So now that one's clean. And then we pop that one back in the spot. This one goes down under. If I could even get it in there. Got to make sure the gasket is lined up. I'm doing them front to back. Probably should do them back to front, but it is what it is. I'm gonna torque it once it's done. I can't do this one-handed because you can see it wants to angle itself this way. So we'll get there. All right, so we're back in here working. If you guys can see, we got no lights. So we lost lights because power's out. Carlisle is not great for floods and whatnot. We just can't handle it. So you guys will have to deal with this in the dark, but I gotta get this fan shroud out because he went and brought me the new one. We got a bunch of new parts over here. Got the S&B box, we got a new filter, we got a new fan shroud. He also brought a rim, so we're gonna be swapping a tire as well with the new rim. Just a temporary steel rim because this one's missing a chunk out on the other side. Somehow this thing's still holding air, but I'm working in the dark. I'm gonna do what I can do and we'll go from there. So we did get power a little bit ago. We started putting everything back on. I got wire harnesses going. We're not done with that yet, but this guy goes to this here, and we're slowly getting everything back together. We got all the fuel lines. I was fighting that back one for a while, so I ended up having to take the fuel filter housing off and all that stuff. But I did clean up a lot of this stuff. You guys can see, been wiping it down. I don't have that bolted in 100%. I just have the 4 bolts in. So now that we got the back piece in, I'm gonna start getting all of these tightened down. So it's been a minute since I've seen you guys, but what I did, I went through, cleaned off all the nuts, cleaned all that stuff off. We got the rail cleaned off a little bit. I didn't mess with the lines. We are running out of time here, but make sure all these guys are in. We torqued the injector, then we torqued this down, then we torqued the injector again, and then we torqued this down. We are at 43 to 44 foot-pounds is what I've been putting them at. The 37 foot-pounds is not great, but we're gonna torque all these down once we get it on there, and then do our valve adjustment. That's why I haven't put the piece back in, but that's pretty much where we're at. So I'm gonna start throwing the rest of the rockers on there, do our valve adjustment, and then we can start throwing everything on, including the intake horn. All right, you guys can see all in there. I'm gonna try to get as much of that cleaned out. We're just gonna use a pick here. This truck doesn't have this stuff anymore, so we're just gonna get rid of all that. Clean out as much as possible. Anything I can get to. And then we'll vacuum the rest of it out. But this is crazy that the EPA thinks that that's okay to go into a motor. All right, so I'm gonna do the valve adjustment first thing in the morning. But this is where we're at. I cleaned all the bolts up, and I also went and got extra bolts because it was missing some when we got here. Cleaned everything as best as I can. Obviously not the oil, but like I cleaned some of the intake horn and I got a lot of the stuff out. We put the S&B box on, the S&B with the intake, because this is not going to affect me doing any of this. I got the coolant line on. I don't like that, but that's what I'm given. I was told not to put anything on that, but if you guys know anything about these delete kits, there's a bracket that slides down and replaces one of the exhaust manifold studs and will actually hold that in. I was told, don't worry about it, just pop it in place, call it a day. All right, so I came back in. It's dark time now. I wanted to get this truck done today because we got jobs getting scheduled and shit. So I got 2 of the valves adjusted. I think we did number 2 and number 4 or 5, one or the other. I think it was 4, 2 and 4. We're about to do number 1. You can see we're open on them. It's a good thing we're doing the valve adjustment because it is way off with the new head. Fair, it's always gonna be. But I was under here spinning the motor over. You guys see how there's a mount for the intercooler right there? Check this one out. That's the intercooler. That's wild. Here's the intercooler mount. Yep, that's the intercooler mount. That's awesome. This has been fun, but we're so close. And then we gotta fill it with coolant and hope we don't have any leaks. Forgot to show you guys it's running. Ignore all the alcohol and the piss jugs. Yeah, I didn't show you guys this. And the owner just found out today. There's margaritas, PBRs, piss jugs. This dude was drinking on the job. So we're gonna get this thing warmed up. Yes, it's got a check engine light. There are things missing. Nothing I can do about that. We got the new fan shroud in. He needs to get that one. It's pretty quiet. Gotta watch this thing. That's how that was. This guy right here. That's scary. This is gonna get a filter. I'm just waiting on it to bring me that. And then that's gonna get a block off plug. So just ignore those 2 things. But that should drop once this thing gets up to temp. Yeah, it was supposed to be done today, but that didn't happen because of the power being out. So I came in tonight to finish this thing up. Cool, no leaks other than me overfilling the coolant by mistake. Sounds like she runs good. Running really good. Well, she moved under her own power. I gotta charge my phone though because it's dying. But we're getting up there, 160 degrees. I'll update you guys when the thermostat opens. So I saw it when it came apart, but there's no oil leaks up top. There's no oil in the turbo. The turbo itself looks fine. I cleaned it out, but you come under here, you see a big old thing of oil. And this was definitely leaking before. I just didn't catch it because we didn't run it. but the turbo oil drain is leaking. And from the looks of it, it's been leaking a while. Ugh. Yeah, it's been leaking a while, it looks like. So that's a fun one, but I'm gonna fire it back up and put the intake back on. I just wanted to see and verify where it was at, so. All right, we have a 4th gen that has sucked down the coolant where it needs to go. We're gonna get this thing out a while. And getting this thing past the doors. Just took her around. She runs really good. Idling fine. Just stinks is all. Smells like oil. Doesn't look like we're pushing coolant. Probably gonna recommend him a valve cover gasket here in the future, and I'm gonna have to let him know that turbo's leaking. This thing was definitely hard abused. Between that intercooler, this tire or this wheel smashed, there's a lot that went on to this thing. The new driver went and did some research on how hot it has to be to get these like that. He said it had to be consistently over 260, which is just fucking crazy. I mean, it could have done engine damage to the block. A lot of you guys have been telling me that this thing's on borrowed time. I mean, I hope he can make his money with it if that's the case. So I'm gonna shut it off. I wanna check the oil. Make sure we're not getting anything crazy in there. Make sure that the level's correct. No oil on the dipstick, that's pretty cool. So other than that, I mean, thing's running really good, but it's got plenty of power. It drives decent. I mean, I just drove it around the block. It's got a bunch of lights out. Yeah, that light, those lights don't work. Actually, those might be just turn signals. That light's out. That tail light's smashed. Those 3 actually work surprisingly. Those are out, that's out. We got that light there. We'll call this one. I'm gonna let, if it had more oil in it, I'd love to drive the damn thing. I want to drive the thing home tonight, so I'm gonna check and see if I have any oil in stock. All right, so we throw enough oil in it to get it home. I am gonna drive it because I need to. Oil change is due, is what it says. Oh, you can hear that turbski. We're gonna put a little bit of test on it, load it down. Keep in mind that check engine light is unclearable. I know I'm gonna get somebody in the comments bitching about it. It's not a clearable check engine light. It's not a stock truck. It's deleted, it's missing things. This thing's actually running really good. Like, seatbelt chime just stopped finally. I don't wear that. Captain always goes down with his ship. But besides the iffy tune file where it's like really jerky and yeah, I mean, it's not bad. Also the steering is kind of ass. The guy who got fired definitely hit a decent sized curb. Sorry, breaking the law. But other than that, it's running good. It's running good. Definitely has a hard pull to the right. You can see if I let go, I start veering that way. I'm not gonna get on it super hard. I'm not gonna beat the crap out of it because it does have that oil leak. It's not a great leak to have, but you can see everything is soaked under there. The entire subframe is soaked, so I know it was doing it before. It idles where it wants to. It doesn't misfire or where it's supposed to. All right, I just topped it off on coolant because obviously it has to go through some. And when I pulled the cap, there wasn't very much pressure behind it, which is a good thing. Just enough to let it go, and then it was done. So she's done, ready to get picked up. Other than, well, I guess other than that leak, but I will talk to him about that tomorrow. If that's something he wants me to tackle, great. If not, not a big deal. So probably give it a wash before it goes. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. This was a fun little. All right, so just checked it. There's oil on the stick, but guys, I'm telling you, this poor new driver, he's gonna have some work cut out for him. I don't see a grid heater light. fires right up. We'll get her back up to temp. I topped off the coolant last night. It didn't need much, like maybe a quarter of a gallon. So we're gonna take it on the highway. It's at 163 now. We got the AC going. But I mean, things running phenomenal. So I wanna get it on the highway, put it under a little bit of a load, and just kind of see, because the oil's topped off, so we're fine. It is on the dipstick. I'm not gonna beat the hell out of it, but at the same time, it's like we definitely need to put it under a load to make sure everything's good. All right, jumping on the highway now. This is a busy day, huh? Labor Day weekend. There's 201, 203. Oh. And then she comes right back down. I'm gonna get in the left lane and try to at least stay up to 70 would be nice. There we go. Last night going home, I saw 197 at the peak. That was just back roads though, but. So I did get on it twice just to get the boost up to around 30 some pounds. So that way when we stop here, I'm gonna go. I hate this intersection. They should be down there waiting for me. Oh, nope, never mind. But she's running all right. So other than that little oil leak it's got, but the oil's full, so I'm not worried about it right now. All cleared up. No pressure, even under high idle. No boiling. Runs good. Yeah, we gotta get a bolt for that. Then he's gonna get the piece that goes on there. All right, so the saga continues. We did end up doing the turbo oil drain, unfortunately. So first things first, whoever did the turbo oil drain before, apparently they told him that you have to pull the whole turbo and this and that to do the oil drain. And when they did that, must have reused the gasket because this thing was so torn. That was leaking like a fucking sieve. So I did that. He didn't have the parts, and we had gasket maker here, so I just made a gasket for it. But it's leaking through the center hole now. It was leaking everywhere, like a constant massive drip. You can see after like 5 minutes of idling, it did all this. I fixed it, but even with the new gasket, it does have a little tiny bit of a, not nearly as bad as what it was. But he has a whole new everything, so he'll be putting that back on when he gets down there. But the oil leak is nowhere near as bad as what it was. But we did think we had a rear main leak, and he just did it. So I was like, wait a second. I just put this valve cover back on last night, and I was gonna say something about the valve cover gasket, and it slipped my mind. But the valve cover gasket was leaking, the lower one. Unfortunately, I couldn't get one at 2 in the morning, so I just threw it on. But it's literally a 5-minute job to strip it down, clean everything up, and then throw the new one on there. But this is where we're at. We've been running this thing like all day, up and down and this and that, and we haven't had any issues. No coolant going missing, and it's been a fun ordeal. I got absolutely filthy. I've been cleaning up as much as I can, but they're getting ready. We're literally just gonna throw the valve cover gasket back in it. They bring me a new one now, and then we are done. And I told him he's got to go get the breather and then probably use an oversized bolt for this little bastard right here. But besides that, and I did also tell him about the intercooler that you can wiggle jiggle. So he's going to get a new bracket for that as well. So just waiting on that. But as of the blow-by yesterday, there was a lot of steam from all the moisture in here from the head gasket being blown before. So once all that blew off, but the cap blowing back up, it just turns out it was the fan, so I fucked up. Made a little mistake there, but it is what it is. It was blowing the cap, but this fan just would not stop blowing, so we had the AC on, everything was working, so now we're good. We're just throwing the valve cover on. There's no blow-by, thing runs great, goes down the road perfect. Just waiting on him to bring me a part. There's one, there's two. There he goes. Yeah, valve cover gasket was leaking. Not a big deal. I took care of that for him. He went and bought the part. He gets it through commercial, so it was like 18 bucks. But we get good deals on those fucking commercial accounts. I definitely need to get on that with AutoZone, but I've been using Fisher's for most of the stuff. Also, what do you guys think of the mustache? There they go. There they go. Sounds good. I drove that home last night. All right, I appreciate you guys for sticking around. I know I haven't been making content lately, but I'm gonna do my best. We got some work coming in this week. I gotta do a video on Josh's truck. His shit blew up, and you guys aren't gonna believe why. I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.